My understanding is that Ms. Tovar needed to take a drink of water before she did her test. And I was informed that you don't need a drink of water. So what's going on, Ms. Tovar?
I had a miscarriage last week, and I used meth.
American Justice Vault.
All right, the court is calling 2021 CR 9160, State of Texas versus Rosa Tovar. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Ryan Groomer for the state of Texas.
For the defense?
Michael J. Sawyer.
And are you Ms. Tovar?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we're here for sentencing. The state, according to the plea bargaining agreement, is proceeding on count 1, which is possession with intent to deliver 4,200 grams. Punishment is to be assessed at a cap of 7 years. There's a $500 fine. State is opposing your application, and they're taking in consideration NIMAC number 650864. Have parties had a chance to review the PSI report, state?
Yes, Judge.
Defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections to the PSI report and the TAP evaluation, state?
Yes, Judge, we've read both.
All right, any objections?
No objection, sorry.
All right, that's a problem.
We
Defense?
reviewed it as factually correct, Your Honor. We have no objection.
All right, state, do you have any witnesses?
We do not, Judge.
Defense, do you have any witnesses?
Only Rosa Tovar who would like to address the court on her own behalf.
All right, Ms. Tovar, if you could raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand. Make sure you speak up. What is your name, please?
Rosa Tovar.
All right, defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Rosa, this is your one chance to address the judge on her 90A. You're asking for a long shot. You're asking for probation, knowing you have a long criminal record, right?
Yes.
You've been in prison before. This is your one time to tell the judge, what is your change in plans in your life that perhaps could benefit from probation? Most importantly, when were you released from prison? What year?
2016
And what was that for?
burglary.
At the time you went to prison, you had many prior arrests for thefts and various assorted charges. You tell the judge, how long were you a drug addict?
Say it again. I was on drugs for about 10 years.
And how old were you when you first became drug addicted?
I was 19. 18.
And you picked up a variety of theft charges. Why were you stealing back in that period of your life?
To support my habit.
And eventually got you in prison. You were released about 2016, right?
Yes.
Can you tell the judge, have you used any drugs since 2016?
No, I've been clean 7 years as of last month.
You know the charge you're facing today. You tell the judge, boy, do you have any children? And if so, how old are they?
I have a 2-year-old boy and a 1-year-old girl.
And currently, do you live with your mother?
Yes.
And in the event you were sent to penitentiary, who would be left to care for your 2 children?
My mom.
And how old is she?
57.
Does she work or is she on disability or something?
She doesn't work.
Could you express to Judge Boyd why now in your life do you want to make changes? Why do you think this time you'd benefit from probation instead of going to the penitentiary?
Well, I have my kids now, and I think probation will help me work.
In terms of work, what kind of work would you like to do? What are your goals in that area?
Well, I'm not sure. I've been looking for a job online to do like something on the computer, but it's hard with my record.
Once you got a criminal record, it's hard to go on down and apply for a regular job. You found that out. So what you get are low paying, fast food jobs, things like that. Would you like a chance to receive some training or education that help you enter the job force and get a job that'll pay a good wage to support your children?
Yeah. My mom was telling me I could go back to school since I got my GD in prison and stuff.
And what would you like to study at school? Something along the electronic computer lines?
Something like that.
Is there anything else that I tell Judge Boyd this morning before she has to make a decision in your case?
Oh, just that, I mean, I've changed my life since 2015. I haven't done any drugs, and I mean, I was just trying to raise my kids to be right.
Is that all you have?
Right now, yes.
I will pass the witness.
Ms. Tovar, in this case that you're before the judge for, you told the PSI officer that it wasn't your drugs that were in the purse. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you know what the two types of drugs were that were found in your purse?
Meth and heroin.
And when you went to the PSI officer to talk to them about your drug history, what did you tell them your drugs of choice were back in 2015 when you said you stopped using?
Heroin.
Okay. Did you also tell them you use meth daily?
Yes, but it was mostly heroin.
No further questions.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, I have a question. So I read, of course, the stipulations in the PSI report. Which child was it in the vehicle with you where these drugs were found?
My daughter.
And how old was she at the time?
She was like 8 months.
All right. And when you're drug tested, you know where the results going to be
Negative.
for everything.
Yes.
All right, I'm not saying what I'm gonna do yet, but I would like to see her do a drug test today. Probation, can we get a drug test?
Yes, Robert.
All right, we're gonna come back, we're gonna do a drug test today.
Okay.
Do you need any water?
Yes.
All right,
Judge,
we're
can
gonna
I
have
go to the court and come back?
yes, we're gonna have you remain in the courtroom. Could you get your client some water, or I think there's a water fountain in the hallway.
I'll bring some water from downstairs.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
My understanding is that Ms. Tovar needed to take a drink of water before she did her test. And I was informed that you don't need a drink of water. So what's going on, Ms. Tovar?
I had a miscarriage last week, and I used meth.
All right, so now we're coming up with new information. All right, is there anything else from either side?
Not from the defense, Your Honor.
No, Judge.
Okay. All right, the court's going to deny your application. The court will find you guilty, and I believe the previous judge who was here previously found you guilty. Does anyone want to speak to the cap of 7 years?
Your Honor, cap being 7. I just ask the court to consider whatever the court considers a fair sentence this morning. That is all.
All right.
Judge, I believe she's had a number of offenses of a similar nature. In addition, this offense was occurred with her child in the car. We're asking for the cap of 7 years on this case.
All right, I will sentence you to 6 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served. There's a $500 fine, time and money to run concurrent. Take in consideration night bag number 650864. All right, I'm going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it and did you sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand? You understand?
Yes.
All right, because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand? Ms. Tovar, if you would like, I can ask that you be referred to the therapeutic community. The therapeutic community does not increase your time. I have no power to force them to place you in the therapeutic community, but I do know if you don't ask for it, you definitely will not be placed in it. So the therapeutic community is to help people who may have drug issues or whatever issues they may have, to help them, hopefully when they're released, be on the right track. Would you like to be considered for the therapeutic community?
Sure.
All right, and so we will do the therapeutic community. All right, we can go off the record. Ms. Tovar, You have young children. And people, I don't know what's wrong with people. They believe that they can have children and children can raise themselves. They cannot. They're dependent on you. So you're supposed to be raising your children, not their grandmother. Their grandmother is just there, supposed to be there to spoil them. Now she can't do that because you're not holding up your responsibilities. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good luck to you.
As the courtroom fell silent, the weight of the sentence settled over everyone present like a heavy curtain closing on a difficult chapter. Rosa Tovar stood there, a mother of 2 young children, now facing 6 years in prison after the judge denied her request for probation. Despite her emotional plea, her claims of long-term sobriety, and her desire to rebuild her life, the court ultimately focused on the seriousness of the offense, possession with intent to deliver, and the responsibility that comes with repeated choices in prior history. The judge's words lingered in the room, especially the reminder that children are not just a detail in a case, but lives deeply affected by the decisions of their parents. For the defense, this was a story of redemption, recovery, and a second chance that never materialized. For the prosecution, it was about accountability, public safety, and the consequences of drug distribution. And for Rosa, it became the moment everything changed. As officers prepared to take her into custody, the reality of the sentence replaced every hope she had expressed just minutes earlier. There was no celebration, no victory, only the finality of a ruling that cannot be undone in that moment. Outside the courtroom, life would continue, but inside those walls, the message was clear. The court had weighed mercy against responsibility and chosen consequence. This case serves as a reminder that in the justice system, past actions echo loudly, and even promises of change must stand against the seriousness of the charge. In the end, the gavel doesn't just end a hearing, it closes a chapter of a life, leaving behind questions of what could have been and what comes next after the doors of the courtroom shut.